If there's one thing that the gaming industry needs more of, it's slop. I love slop. So when I saw that Jagex were making an open world survival craft game that's based on RuneScape, I was almost as excited as when they made the Will Smith Aladdin movie. Look, maybe calling RuneScape Dragonwilds slop is kinda harsh, but it also kinda isn't. The way the trailer dropped out of nowhere and the game released almost immediately afterwards, along with the genre it's in, paired with the fact that it was made by, Jagex, I can't help but feel like that this was a bit of a cash grab. But despite the fact that the only reason anyone even cares about this game is that it's RuneScape, it doesn't really play into that nostalgia at all, nor does it do anything else terribly exciting either. So along with the fact that it's still very early access without a mountain of content, is it worth buying yet? Well, for starters, if you've played Valheim before, then you've already played RuneScape Valheim Wilds too. A lot of the features, progression, and mechanics are heavily inspired by, or blatantly ripped from it, and what isn't is just other generic open world survival craft that you've seen before too. There are the RPG aspects of the quest system inherited from RuneScape, and the leveled map regions inherited from, again, Valheim, but what I was most excited for was how the game was marketed as being RuneScape at its core. Unfortunately, like many things from Jagex, that was a fucking lie. This game's biggest issue is that it's just not like RuneScape at all. I know RuneScape is massively overrated for what it is, but incorporating mechanics from it would actually be a fresh and interesting take on this genre. Use RuneScape's level requirement system for progression, make it so food is used as a healing item instead of for sating hunger, utilize a bunch of the skills from the MMO that would tie into the genre, provide multiple crafting techniques, and generally add a fresh take on things. But instead, progression is tied entirely to the gear you have. We have generic food, thirst, and sleep bars that constantly need to be maintained with Dark Souls potions for healing, and from the 29 skills available in RS3, we have a grand total of 9 in the game. 9. This is a RuneScape game set on an island and they didn't add fucking fishing, let alone farming, prayer, agility, herblore, slayer, or hunter that would so easily slot into this game, nor are smithing, crafting, and fletching separate skills. And on top of this, magic and range, 2 out of the 3 combat skills aren't even fucking levelable. To be fair, leveling other skills does fuck all really. You'll unlock spells and a handful of other abilities, but otherwise you get meager bonuses that you probably won't even notice. Also, skills cap out at level 50 instead of 99 despite what the menu says, which is just a little sacrilegious. You do unlock a lot of the available spells very quickly, many of which are cool the very first time you use them until you realize how long the cooldowns are for them, and many of which you'll probably never bother using. Windstep is useful, so is the one for the building free cam, and some of the combat buffs are almost necessary, but that's really about it. This ended up being a very gimmicky feature and doesn't add much substance to the gameplay. Although the people that made this game are clearly big fans of Valheim to the point of copying the fucking message pop-ups when you sleep, I seriously doubt that they're big fans of RuneScape, either OSRS or the cursed new one. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't made by a third party brought in by Jagex. Modash, please confirm for me. There is little about this game that suggests that it really has anything to do with RuneScape other than its mildly unfunny, quirky dialogue and ooh, look, there's goblins and it's the wise old man. How do you do, fellow RuneScapers? But one aspect where it does share some similarities is its grind factor, though you don't really spend any time grinding skills, it just sort of happens in the background as you grind for materials or fight things to progress through the game's content. What you do spend a lot of time grinding, however, is inane bullshit like collecting water for your goddamn thirst bar, which you then need to cook to purify it, and then cook it again so that it fills more than 1/10 of your fucking thirst bar. You spend far more time worrying about your character's needs than you do actually enjoying the RPG aspects of the game that make it fun, which really bogs it down and makes it feel extremely tedious. If you're grinding skills, you're making progress. Grinding food fills a bar that's just gonna go down again. Combat makes up a sizable part of the gameplay, both in enemies roaming the map and in dungeons, and it's a little more Dark Souls than Valheim. It's very commitment based and dodge, roll, and parry heavy, particularly in melee combat. It's engaging enough, but often feels a little clunky and awkward. Magic combat is also combo commitment based rather than having the spellbook from RuneScape, which I personally dislike. I think that having access to a bunch of different missile spells and debuffs, as well as elements other than just air and fire, would have added more variety and strategy. You also have a few spells for buffing yourself in combat, which can be used at any time via the spellbook, but I think this should have been where prayer was implemented into the game, but I guess I had to justify the gimmicky spellbook somehow, right? But magic being commitment-based combos instead of being able to hold and fire upon command means that you can't space yourself from enemies, and it's useless in close combat as you can't block with the staff, though not as useless as short bows are. They would have to be close to being the most unsatisfying weapons to use in a video game. Not only can you not draw and hold short bows, but you'll leap around like a ballerina while shooting, making aiming incredibly difficult and more or less completely unusable on uneven terrain. don't fucking use short bows. Longbows, however, are the most effective weapon in the game, mostly because you can actually use them like a normal human being, so you can aim and space yourself accordingly, but also they just do a shitload of damage. But despite how good they are, using them is an XP waste, as is using magic, because again, you can't actually level these skills, and I know that leveling skills really does fuck all, but like, what excuse is there for the exact same leveling system as attack not being implemented? This game is also a little Dark Soulsy in its difficulty. I honestly died quite a lot, and yeah, I suck at anything that isn't fucking Football Manager or whatever, but it's easy to get ganked by enemies, especially in vaults where they often spawn in groups of around 4 in one room, and at that point, it's Jova. You'll also be randomly attacked by groups of enemies either while roaming the map or at your base, as well as the dragon doing drive-by attacks at you, raining poison down from the sky, all of which can overwhelm you at a moment's notice and just generally be a pain in the ass because they're very frequent. I feel that the game is optimized to be played in multiplayer rather than single player. I only played the game solo, so I don't really know if enemy spawn counts change, but they often feel a little high for one person, but would be pretty damn easy for 3 or 4. Though I will say, without spoiling anything, what is currently the last boss of the game, that big green dragon fucker, is very underwhelming. It lasted barely more than a minute, and I even forgot to equip my anti-dragon shield like I did facing Elvarg as a kid, except this time I still beat him easily. Quality of life is a sorely missing aspect of this game. The menus and inventory are clunky, and it has some obtuse systems like having to open loot packs one by one rather than having an open all function. Killing Velgar also for some reason doesn't stop him from still randomly attacking you in the overworld, but hey, at least they fixed his attacks going straight through your roof. You also can't pause in single player, which I absolutely detest, and you also can't scroll the camera in and out at all, which also shits me to tears because when I know I can't do it, I get all antsy on the scroll wheel. I feel that a lot of things could simply be faster. Spells really don't need to take as long to cast as they do, and you should be able to cast combat spells or wind step while you're moving rather than needing to come to a stop. It's nitpicky, yes, but it breaks up the flow of the game, and TDM is something this game already struggles with. There's a number of graphics settings that can't be changed in-game, and it's kinda shit that they haven't made it accessible, especially since this game is so jam-packed with chromatic aberration, motion blur, and other bullshit that it turns into a blurry mess at night, and not only makes it hard to see, but honestly, it gave me a fucking headache. Generally, I would say that the game does look nice though, certainly much nicer during the day, though this is yet another thing that brings it further from being a RuneScape game. RuneScape dragging my nuts across the keyboard is a disappointing experience, both for those seeking a fresh open world survival craft game, and especially for those wanting a nice little nostalgia hit. Is the game fun? Yeah, kinda. Is it good? No, not really. It brings nothing new to the genre, and very little in terms of being RuneScape in anything other than name. This game clearly needed another 12 to 18 months of development minimum before it was even ready to be released in early access. You'll get through all of the current content and progression within around 25 hours, even playing at a leisurely pace. But it's missing a lot of fleshing out of what's already there. Again, 9 skills, more than a fifth of them can't be leveled. Iron is the endgame metal for weapons and armor, nowhere near Runite. So many things from the MMO that are missing that really should have been implemented before they started charging you money for it. There is no way I'd recommend buying this game right now, certainly not for its asking price, and certainly not while Valheim exists and is cheaper. That could change in the future, but I wouldn't hold out for it. If I know Jagex, then I know as soon as the interest in sales die down, this game will fall to the wayside because Treasure Hunter still makes them more money. They've already got their bag from early access sales, so I don't have an awful lot of hope that this will ever develop into something that's more worthwhile playing than even old school RuneScape. And that shit sucks.